Welcome to this segment of The Making of Us, a story-inspired podcast by themakingofmarriage.com, where we take the awkward out of honest conversations for couples. These are the tales of the people and places behind the relationship lessons, and of love, but like it really is. My name's Meg Gemelli, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to our guest today. We're glad you're here. Hello, everybody. This is Meg Gemelli of The Making of a Marriage. This is our podcast, The Making of Us, and I'm so happy to welcome Beau Brilhante as a guest today. He already knows that we take the awkward out of honest conversations, and what is more awkward to talk about with couples than money, Beau? Money.
It can be awkward.
It can be really
You are
awkward.
not wrong.
It just so happens that that's your job.
Exactly.
Which is, it's actually kind of crazy that we're partnering up right now because I do very little with money in my line of work. So, but I know that my couples fight a lot about money. Mm-hmm. So when I say financial planner to most couples, they kind of have an idea of what that means, but can you just give it to us in layman's terms? What do you do?
Yeah, there's so many different definitions, and different advisors run their practice differently anyways. But in short, simply, I just help individuals, families, businesses plan for what's most important to them. That's it. There's so much information out there that's accessible to everyone, and it can be so difficult to navigate what exactly is the best route for you to take. So I essentially take my clients' plans, their goals, their vision, and just give them a roadmap with math behind it to help them get there.
You make it happen?
Yeah, and so many people are afraid to also talk to advisors because they think they might need money or different things of what they heard. There's so many different misconceptions out there. But from just a baseline, it's if you have something worth protecting, if you have dollars you think could be optimized more, and if you have something you want to grow your money towards that you care about, then it's worth having a conversation with someone.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we're co-hosting a workshop coming up called Critical Conversations, right, about money that couples can't afford to avoid. And so it's a great opportunity just for you to start with those very basic conversations that couples should be having in a way that's not scary, right? Yeah. It doesn't have to be a fight. Doesn't have to be
Absolutely
the silent treatment.
Absolutely. And that's where I shine, is up on stage. So it'll be a good time. It'll be a good
Is
time.
Is that a warning?
Slight warning.
Yeah.
Slight warning.
Before we get too far and I forget, listeners, that is February 22nd, Saturday. It's super laid back. It's at Carolina Beach State Park. It's going to be a nice time. You can show up early, stay late, walk some trails, get some breakfast. We even have vouchers for childcare if that's something that's important to you. So I didn't want to forget that part, Beau. It's
Absolutely.
Exciting.
No, that's awesome.
I met you not too long ago in one of the networking events here in town. We seemed like a great pair just based on the couples that we like to serve. So how long have you been in Wilmington?
So I've been in Wilmington now for, almost 9 years, I think.
Oh, really? I thought it was less than that. That's a long time.
No, well, I
actually.
started in college here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So 8 years, 8 to 9 years. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
You're more seasoned than I am, practically. I think I've been here 10, but
Kinda.
you did college. That's that's getting in there, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you're not from here.
No, I'm originally from Hawaii, and my family moved to Huntersville, North Carolina, when I was 12 years old.
When you were 12.
Yeah, so I was finishing 6th grade, going on to 7th. My older brother, I'm one of 4 kids, and he was leaving his sophomore year, or his freshman and sophomore year in high school. So it was a tough move for him, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my life I built in North Carolina, for sure, definitely.
Just to paint a picture, I know y'all can't see Beau, but he is like a smiling, gregarious teddy bear in a suit. If I could describe Beau to you right now. I hope you get the chance to meet him. But so obviously you remember being in Hawaii, 12. You can remember a little bit.
Yeah.
You had told me a story about your family and how most families live in Hawaii. Can you paint first a cultural picture and then kind of just tell us about your journey with selling the house and moving to the mainland?
Absolutely. So yeah, Hawaii has a very, very unique culture. They are so family oriented, the most loving people, but it is really difficult to make a living there. There's only so much land. So as you can imagine, property cost is really high, real estate there. There's also not a ton of opportunity. There's one main college on the island, a few other community colleges, and tourism is obviously a large industry there. But I remember when I moved here, people had a very different perception of Hawaii. I was in the 7th grade, so I had questions like, "Did you live in a hut or anything like
Oh.
that?" Not that crazy, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting way to grow up, and I am forever grateful to my parents for making that leap and that jump to move to North Carolina with 4
Were you on
kids.
Hawaii? Which island?
Oahu.
Oahu.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we lived in a town called Mililani. It was in the center of the island, so it wasn't like right on the beach or anything.
Sure.
And it was a good neighborhood, and they worked hard to provide house and food and to let us play the sports we wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
But there was so much I was unaware of at the time. Just being a young kid, everything just comes to you.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of got me interested in finance to begin with. So growing up, we were essentially house poor. We had a house, and everything my parents did was to put food on the table, clothes on our back, and buy us baseball mats or basketballs, whatever it was. And my dad, he was an insurance adjuster. He still is to this day, and my mom stayed at home to take care of us. So they made so many sacrifices. I mean, growing up, my dad coached me in 32 teams.
Oh my gosh.
32 teams, and that was just me. He's coached teams for my brothers and stuff. So they made a lot of sacrifices to be able to just be with us. And my mom stayed at home to take care of us. And in Hawaii, with everything being so expensive, there was time they prayed for about 4 years until they decided to make the move. And as I said earlier, Hawaii's culture is very family oriented.
And you were saying multiple generations under one roof, oftentimes, right?
Yeah, because real estate's so expensive.
Yeah.
When we went back to visit a few years ago, there's about 3 generations in every family's house that we stayed with.
Wow, yeah.
Because it is just insane. So when I was 12 years old, we sold our 1,600 square foot house, and my parents took the leap, and we moved to North Carolina, and they got out of debt. They're able to buy a 2,800 square foot house for less than half what we sold the Hawaii house for. And just the amount of opportunity that's in North Carolina with the school system and everything like that was incredible. And yeah, will always be grateful for my parents for making that leap. It's I couldn't imagine now being older what it took to tell their parents, tell the other family, say, hey, not only are we moving to the mainland, we're moving the entire opposite side to North Carolina. I mean, you couldn't really get any further.
And I think you're rocking people's world right now, because I envision the Dole Plantation.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
100%.
I'm envisioning the snorkeling that we did when we were there. I got married or engaged on the beach. Like, that's the side we see, but we don't see the struggle of the families on the other side, and the school systems and the jobs. Where are all the jobs, right?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the people I know that are there are either, they're starting their own landscaping service or in construction. Like, they're working hard for their living. But it can be really, really difficult to make a living out there. And it's funny you bring up the Dole Plantation, because Mililani, where I lived, originally was an entire pineapple field until they developed.
Okay.
Yeah. Pineapple is cheap there.
Yes,
everything else is a little bit more expensive.
They can do some amazing things with pineapple, I'll tell you that much.
It's awesome.
So you're 12, you're in the Charlotte area. What was it like from there on? Yeah,
so I definitely, looking back on it now, I could definitely see a change in regards to my parents. I never felt the stress financially that they had. So I was blessed in that way, but they were just so excited. I mean, they were like kids in a candy store. I mean, it was a different paradise, We're excited when there was frost on the grass.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw my brother, this is the most incredible thing. And they just had so much freedom and just joy. And we went to Disney World. We, were able to drive to different states. It really opened up opened up our world. And as I got into high school and stuff, again, having 4 kids can be expensive.
Sure.
It's never cheap. My dad, thankfully, was able to transfer exactly what he was doing in Hawaii to the branch here in Charlotte.
Okay.
And actually in '08 or '09, I believe, 3 years after we moved, his branch closed. So he would have been jobless if we stayed in Hawaii, which is just another blessing in disguise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he was able to do that. And 4 kids can still be expensive, and life happens. And my brother, we call him Mr. Deductible, because every year something would happen and we'll hit our health deductible. So there were times, even after moving and everything, that we were living month to month. And at this point, I'm in high school, and I'm a little bit more aware of that. Just got my first job.
So it caught up to you guys.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, just got my first job, and I would go to the movies and say, $10, that's like one whole hour, if not an hour and a half of working. So I thought about money differently, and that's where I became a little bit more frugal and started thinking about savings and all that stuff too. But it's nice now to be able to help my family to not make the same mistakes that they may have before. But again, they were doing everything really for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day.
And don't you feel like a lot of couples and families are like, they are doing the very best they can with the information they have at the moment.
Yeah.
And we just don't know,
Yeah.
and if we're scared to have the conversations, or we think that it's going to cost a lot of money to step out and ask for help, those are all deterrents.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Of course, I'm sure they love you very much, and we're doing the best they could.
It's always about having just a plan in place, and it's not carved in stone. It's a living, breathing document. It is going to change every year. It might change every 3 months. It's just a matter of reacting to it and making sure you're taking care of what's most important first, and looking at the other dollars you have to do what you want with it. Making sure it's efficient for yourself and your family. Absolutely.
So what was it specifically then that made you decide to jump into finance? You were frugal in high school, but what was the tipping point? Like, I have to help other families do this.
Well, I was thinking about this just the other week, and seeing the joy that my parents had when they moved across the nation and got out of debt, how good that felt. And I was like, man, what if I could bring that to someone, right? So I probably wasn't thinking it back then, but maybe it happened subconsciously. And as I went into college, I originally went to college to study physical oceanography. I liked physics and I liked oceanography, and then I found out I would be out at sea like 6 months at a time.
Oh.
And I knew I wanted a family and whatnot in the future. So I nixed that, and then I headed to the business school, and I always liked finance and money. So that's really where I kind of turned my focus is on finance. And again, it was just being able to see and help family, friends, people I care about. I'm so glad I kind of made that career and that focus, because I didn't know at the time that all those life experiences I had was really driving me towards that. I wasn't super introspective around that. I was just in college doing my thing, going to classes.
I'm going to call you out on the carpet, though. I know why you don't want to be out on the boat. Because you married your high school sweetheart.
I did.
And she would not have been happy with you.
I did. No.
She wouldn't have been happy with you
probably,
at all.
It would have been a little bit harder.
You probably said, I'm going to be on a boat. She, nope.
Yeah, 100%.
What's your plan B?
And it honestly did not sound fun to me to be on a boat 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely.
But you've spoken highly of her. Haven't had the opportunity to meet her, but what is she like? What attracted you to her? How did you end up together? Give us the scoop.
So this is such a fun story. We knew of each other in middle school, like 8th grade, but it was we're just on very different. We had very different friend groups, and click. I was I played a few sports. I was the kid from Hawaii and kind of class clown, and she had her tight knit group of friends, and that's all she needed, And I was just like trying to find friendships anywhere I could, and we had a very unique high school experience. So we went to a charter school in the Huntersville area, and the first year we went was their first year they had at high school. So it was just 9th grade, and they added a grade every year. So we were the top dog all 4
Oh,
years,
sure.
which is really unique.
It's not even fair.
No, not even fair.
Until you understand freshman year.
Never had to deal with that. Getting on the sports team was a lot easier for me.
I bet it was.
It was a really unique experience.
Your confidence makes so much sense to me now.
100%. And that freshman year, we were all in a really, really long trailer. There's about 110 students. Allie and I, that's my wife's name, we had 5 classes together. And our upbringing was very similar. Our parents were kind of friends through church.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did we have 5 out of our 7 classes every day together, but we would hang out a little bit after church on Sundays while our parents are talking.
Sure.
And we'd be like, oh, can our parents hurry up already?
Yeah.
But really, we're just happy that we're talking. But yeah, she was just so different than any of the other girls, just based on like the fact that going back to middle school, she had her tight-knit group. She knows what it's like not to be the most popular person or to kind of be the little guy. So she's so strong and empathetic. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when people think of empathy, they don't think, oh, super, super strong, right? Like someone who's caring. But man, she fights for the little guy. She's all about equalizing some injustice. So she's in social work now, which makes a lot of sense. But even back then, in high school, those formative years, she made sure her opinion was known and that she stood her ground for what she believed in. And that was super admirable for me because I was very much a people person, and I felt like I love making people laugh. I still do to this day. Mm-hmm. But, I hated if somebody was angry. Like that, that was like the worst thing. Like, what can I do to make this better? Let me make a joke, make you laugh. And she like stood her ground, and she was so mature for her age. And we were just both also future oriented, and I think we just had a lot that we related with our upbringing and everything. So that's how we got to know each other.
So it was love long ago.
Oh yeah, I knew. It was like 9th grade year. I was like, okay.
That was the one.
Got a long-term plan here.
Yeah. Did you map it out in 10 steps?
Yes. Analysis and everything.
Oh, that's so cute. Well, it's really endearing, the story of you guys coming together. But honestly, your marriage hasn't been easy the whole time.
Yeah.
You've had some challenges. So talk to us about how work and your family upbringing and your heart and marriage kind of all ended up intertwining for a time.
Yeah, absolutely. So my senior year of college, I started the internship at Northwestern, and the summer before that, I proposed to her when we studied
Northwestern
abroad.
Mutual, not
Northwestern
the college.
Mutual,
just
correct.
to be,
yes.
Just to be.
So I started the internship here at Northwestern Mutual and proposed to Allie the summer before that when we studied abroad in Ireland. And obviously when I was in the internship, I'm learning a lot about these planning things and stuff like that. And it's so easy to get caught up in it and the education and stuff, which is great. But I had to borrow other people's stories, to kind of emphasize how important it is to start planning early. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used my parents' story a little bit, but it wasn't like super, super relatable to some people that may have just been starting out in their career. So we got married a couple months after we graduated college, and 6 months after we got married, my wife was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for some of the foundational planning that we did and insurances we got in place, she would not be able to get that today. So I'm blessed that I found this career and found my passion and was able to be proactive and implement those things when we didn't have a house or didn't have a family, but knew it was important to us.
Sure.
She wouldn't have it today. So that's obviously given me a lot of conviction and passion, and that's where really my two worlds collide into why I do what I do every day, is so that people can, if they ever do experience something like that, they only have to worry about the health issues, not the health and finance issues.
Right.
Right. Because I can never take away worrying about that. Mm-hmm. But if she couldn't go to work for any reason, I knew we were going to be okay. And that was a relief in itself to just really put all my time and effort
And do you understand how not normal that is, especially for young couples?
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I was 22.
Yeah. How many 22-year-olds do you know are thinking that far in advance? And myself included, you get married, it's a whirlwind, it's exciting, and then you have the first child or two, and you get caught up 5, 7, however many years later, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't have a will yet. You know, I don't have any sort of insurance in case something should happen to us.
Yeah.
I remember you asking one time, you know, can you afford living expenses for 3 to 4 months in case the insurance doesn't even kick in, even if you do have insurance, right? Do you have savings? Yeah. These are questions that shouldn't scare people, but people do get sick. We get hurt, you know, we lose jobs. All these things happen to us. It's just, your story is amazing that you were able to take your whole experience and your education and protect your family even so young.
Man, it is crazy how it happened. And, you know, I never thought it would happen to us. No one ever thinks it is either, right? No. But when it happens, man, it gives you a lot of conviction around that purpose. And, you know, everyone should have a plan. Yes, A, if everything goes right, but B, if everything goes wrong, so that you never need to deal with that. And 22-year-olds, I was future oriented at the time. Yeah, I always been future oriented, but if I wasn't in this career path, I wouldn't have even thought about getting anything like that unless I talked to someone. And a lot of times people don't know they need something until they actually talk to someone. Yeah. You know, it's just how it is. It's really interesting. Yeah.
It's easy to set goals, especially at that age. A lot of people are saying, what are your life goals? What are you working towards? What does success look like for you? But they never say, what do you need to do to protect what you already have and be grateful for what you already have and, you know, plan for the worst. So is that why you're so passionate about young couples? Yeah,
really, because I'm a young couple that experienced it. I've seen my family go through some things. I love working with young couples, young families, because they have so much on their plate. Yeah. You know, they have so much going on. They don't know a lot of times what exactly they need. They may think they have everything, but they just haven't had a conversation with someone. So I absolutely love it. It's really easy for me to get along with them because I'm in that same space. And I just love having conversations and getting to hear people's stories, really. But that's obviously has given me so much conviction, and I love being the go-to for my family and friends. You know, my parents, my grandparents now, they're calling me every time they have a financial decision. My aunt's calling me.
So you're giving back.
Buying a car. Yeah, it's just, now it took some time to build that reputation for them. You know, when I started as an internship, they were like calling me every day. But being in the business 5 to 6 years now, they're definitely calling and, you know, hey, this came up, what should I do? And it's been so nice to be able to do that for them, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. All that's great, but here's what people really want to know.
Yeah.
Your wife and you are probably perfect, right? You have the perfect marriage.
I wish.
Your money is just so. You have no problems. You never argue over how to spend it, how to budget it, never.
I wish. I wish.
So here's the question. If I were a fly on the wall, what would I hear the two of you saying, or loudly or quietly, about your money matters?
I love this question. It is such a unique question because, as you can imagine, kind of frugal growing up, started thinking about in high school, like just spending money is hours of work, and I'm a very difficult person to live with from a financial standpoint, as you can probably imagine.
Are you stubborn?
Not super stubborn. Allie does a great job. Allie does a great job of balancing me out.
Okay.
We're really, really good in that sense, but sometimes it takes a little bit more tweaking on her side for me to agree to something. So the classic example in our marriage is I'm, like I said, been very future oriented and you think about dollars and cents differently from just a normal everyday person that's going through life. And I'm like, you know, if we pay for this vacation and I don't like invest that somewhere, I could be losing out on potentially a lot of money down the road, right? So it's so annoying to have to deal with that person all the time. So she does a really, really great job because she's frugal as well. Yeah. I love her for it.
That's good that you're compatible in that
not
way.
super materialistic in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I grew up in a family that, hey, if your car gets you to point A to point B, that's all that matters. Mm-hmm. I kind of taken that with me. But she loves experiences. And I do too. Mm-hmm. I just, when I hear experiences, I'm like, how much is it going to cost me? Right? Mm-hmm. Or cost us, really. So she's just done a really good job of pushing me to really live in the now and do things while we're young that we want to do before we have kids and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And it's been helpful to be able to have a plan in place because I know I'm paying myself first. So I feel less guilty when we do things like that.
Sure.
But yeah, of course we argue about money. I mean, recently she really wants to get our landscaping figured out. And in my head, I'm like, it's not a huge concern. Maybe if we're about to sell the house, I'll get the landscaping done. But we should definitely get the counters.
Fighting words.
We should change the countertops because that's going to give us more bang for our buck when we sell the house.
Absolutely.
So I think of everything kind of as an investment. She's like, our house doesn't look very pretty. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, but... okay, we'll go higher.
I'm having flashbacks. This very same conversation happened in our house, and I said, if I have to look at this paint color one more day. And the eyes got real big, and he's like, okay, we can afford paint. That'll be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a great...
there are some things, yes, the joy is worth it.
It's a great give and take. We have a lot of fun with it. But yeah, as long as like our emergency fund is where it needs to be, and I have the savings that we calculate every year to do what it needs to do, I feel less guilty, and it opens up opportunities for us to do those things.
Yeah. And it's a conversation, right? Yeah. You're constantly navigating.
And it's not one.
Conversation. No, and sometimes you have to come back and you say, hey, babe, I'm really sorry. I lost my cool a little bit on that. Mm-hmm. This is why it's so important. And because it's never about money.
Yeah.
The conversation's never really about money, right? It's preparation, it's fear, it's upbringing, it's all these things that just kind of follow us around like shadows until something triggers it, like career, money, and things like that.
One of the most difficult things for me when I started out is I'm just such a logistical or logical decision maker sometimes, and I don't let emotion from a money standpoint dictate how I handle my finances in certain times. Mm-hmm. And most people make financial decisions based off their emotions. And it's really important for me to remember that sometimes.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's really important to just be open and have those conversations with your significant other. I mean, my wife and I, she's going to go to the store and buy some clothes or whatever. Yeah, she can do that. She knows she doesn't have to tell me. But she's going to let me know and say, hey, I went to Marshall's, got a few shirts today, look at them. Great. But if we bought a mirror last weekend for our room, and it was like $80 or something. Like, we're obviously going to talk about something like that. Like, it's not the smallest purchase in the world. It's not the biggest purchase in the world by any means, but it's for our room. It's something we're going to see every day. And she was just open and said, what do you think? I was like, yeah, it looks great. Go for it. Instead of her coming to the house and carrying in a huge mirror and being like, look what I got today. And me being like, how much did you spend on that?
Sure, right? Because then you feel ambushed. She feels judged.
That annoys her every time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the whole fight cycle's like, ding, ding.
Yeah, so she always nips it in the bud before I even get to that point. So
that's intuitive. That's great.
Yeah.
You guys have figured that out.
And I always tell her too, if there's something I want to buy, don't just go out and buy it. And we just had a conversation. Like, do you really need that? I don't know. Maybe you're right. Who knows? And we kind of play back and forth. And
why? Yeah.
Yeah, we figure
out.
Why?
Is it comforting? Is it, what are the things underneath? Mm-hmm. Yeah, very wise.
So it's taken some time to get to that point, of course. I mean, when I first started out, we were first married. Anything we were going to buy, it's like, do we really need that? It's just one of those things. So
Yeah. Well, and honestly, you had somewhat an advantage having known her for so long and knowing her
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah.
You know, some newlyweds, they date a year or two, and then here they are in this marriage and terrified to
Yeah.
step on each other's toes.
Yeah.
So they just keep pushing it back and
Yeah.
pushing it back and pushing it
Yeah, I
back.
mean, our story is really unique in the sense that we were high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
You know, because we knew each other when we had $0 income.
Yeah.
So I would imagine it's a lot tougher for people that had their own professional lives, their own income, then they get married. I mean, I meet with a lot of people that have separate accounts still, which is totally fine, but they sometimes the conversation they're having with me is the first time they're sharing their finances with each other, right?
Yeah.
And it's so great to get that open and that conversation going. And maybe one person had a lot of student loan debt that's been stressing them out that the other person didn't know about. And now they're working as a team to get that taken care of.
Absolutely.
So it is so important just to have those open conversations. And it's not easy. People don't like to talk about finance a lot.
I'm sure you've learned hundreds and hundreds of lessons along the way.
Yeah.
But if you were to give your best piece of advice to everybody listening, what would it be?
Well, I would say, for me personally, what the best things I've learned in this career is to simply be present and authentic. It's obviously extremely important to be present to your people you're in front of out of respect for them. But it's also just, I'm always thinking about other things. Like if I went home and something happened at work, I wasn't fully immersed in those conversations with my wife or friends, etc. And then really the authentic piece of it, this is the most important thing to me, is starting out in something like this, there's so much noise and, you know, people with their nice cars or nice watches, whatever.
Yeah.
It can be a very materialistic career. And it was just, you know, sometimes you get caught up in that, and when you're in front of someone, you want to build that trust, so you might reflect something that isn't yourself that they have, so to try and build that trust. And it's just, you know, if I'm going to work with these people the next 30, 40 years, I want them to know me.
Yeah.
And I want them to work with me, and I want people that work with me to know, like, and trust me, right? Because people don't work with me because I work at Northwestern Mutual, or my name is Beau, or I'm the dude from Hawaii. Like, they don't work with me because of that.
Right.
They work with me because they like me.
Right. Well, and they're coming into your office very vulnerable, and it's like they're taking their entire life and dumping it on your desk.
Yeah.
And they're opening themselves up to judgment and whatever else
100%.
they've experienced from everybody else in the world, and they're saying, okay, form this. Help me form this up. Absolutely. It's a mess. And what a position of honor, I guess, to enter, to be asked to come into somebody's life that way.
I love it.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to like me.
Right.
And I'm not. Okay. And that's okay.
Let me find you somebody you do like, right? Yeah,
like.
Absolutely.
So my advice to anyone would just to have a conversation, be open, find someone you really know, like, and trust in this space to have those conversations with. And that goes for anything, not just finance. Just before you make any decisions that can drastically affect your life, talk to someone who does it for a living. You know, I've been doing some repairs around my house. My brother's in construction. I'm going to consult him, and he's told me things I needed that I didn't know existed. Yeah. And that happens so much with everything, and especially in finance, because there's so much noise out there. No one really knows exactly where to go, and it's just, you need something specific to you. So I would just encourage people to have a conversation about it, talk to someone they trust about it, and just see where it leads.
So you're saying be honest, be yourself.
100%.
Don't go it alone.
100%.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it.
This
you guys, you can find Beau on primarily Facebook. He does have a website. He responds to emails like a ninja, and he's an all-around fun guy to be with, to spend some time with. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.